Hello everyone, this is Caitlin, and welcome to my book review on college student mental health counseling. I really enjoyed this book. There's a lot of information there. So basically I'm going to give you the highlights of what I read and kind of some thoughts that I had along with the information in the book. The book was divided into 3 sections, the first one being developmental issues. In this section, they discussed common problems or themes in each school year. Typically, in first and second year students, they'll be dealing with issues such as time management, study skills, decision making, and finding support away from home. They'll also deal with roommate issues, homesickness, and choosing a major. They were discussing how sometimes choosing a major can feel like they are being made to choose a life career right away, and that can be stressful to a student. In third and fourth year students, they are also facing relationship transitions, whether that be romantic, family, or residential, because this is commonly the age where students may move off campus. In this age, they'll also be establishing independence and thinking futuristically outside of college. Section 2 looked at social, cultural, and relational challenges. Common themes in this section for a college student are fitting in and being involved on campus. There's also things that go on outside of campus, such as a loss that may lead to grieving. There could be death of a friend or a family member, even on campus. There is also something called the beauty pageant effect that is common in females, and it's essentially female competition in appearance, where they look for perfection compared to other female students. This section also discussed relationships in a hookup culture and how dating has changed from what it used to be, and commonly there are no strings attached and students just hook up and there's no real commitment there. This also talked about LGBT issues such as coming out. This is more common in college-age students, and chapter discussed each of these things, and then at the end gave some suggestions on how to approach that in counseling. Section 3 was about clinical issues in counseling in college students, whereas the first 2 sections were more about kind of typical, less serious issues that students are likely to face when they're transitioning into college life and out of college life. But the issues they talked about in Section 3 were eating disorders, substance abuse and dependence. Commonly we see alcohol use in college students. Also depression, anxiety disorders, self-harm, suicide, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and impulse control disorders. Some questions I kind of had overall from the book, specific to Grace, was our 3-year program. The book commonly broke down each year and discussed issues faced in that year. So it made me wonder, with students having a shortened college experience, are they able to deal with the higher level issues earlier on? Are they maturing more quickly, or are they dealing with issues before they're ready? I also questioned community colleges where there isn't dorm life and residential living, and how that might affect a college student's development. Also, you could tell that the book was set more for a secular campus, discussed alcohol use more, and relationships, and students deciding when to have sex and things like that. So typically on a Christian campus, you won't run into these things. So it just made me question how that affects a student's development. If once they leave college, if they'll be more developmentally ahead because they didn't deal with these issues quite as much, or if they'll be behind because these issues may be presented to them at a later time. The information in this book could be applied to residential life, where RAs and RDs are interacting with students on a deeper level, where they may come into contact with some of these transitional issues and developmental issues that students are facing. Obviously, as it is a counseling book, this book would be useful in counseling and health centers, where counselors are being familiar with the students' issues as they go through their college life. The authors of this book, I was really impressed by their credibility. I might butcher their names a little bit, but Suzanne Deggs-White, she's a PhD. She's also LPC, LMHC, and NCC. She is the professor and chair of counseling and adult and higher education department at Northern Illinois University. She focuses on individuals and families facing transition, which is very relevant to the information in this book as students face transition into college as well as out of college. Her research has focused on development over lifespan with a focus on women, which was also easy to see in the book as she talked about the beauty pageant effect and discussed how women may look at some issues in college differently than men. She's also the president of the Association for Adult Development and Aging, which is a division of the American Counseling Association. Christine Borzumato-Gamey, a PhD in LPC. She's a counselor and instructor at Elon University, and she has also worked in a college setting over a decade, so she has plenty of experience in that setting. She's collaborated on other books with Suzanne, and her books have focused on women-focused friendships, as well as mother and daughter relationships. So they both bring some insight into the female perspective, which has a tendency to kind of be ignored in research. I was also impressed with the extensive use of outside sources they used in this book. The reference page at the end of each chapter was several pages long. It was very rich in information. It was also very congruent with what we've been reading in class about development. Even some of the issues talked about in Generation on a Tightrope, those were integrated as well. I found an article discussing how most mental disorders have an onset by age 24. So it's very relevant to this counseling book, where those symptoms might show up during the college years, or they might be coming into college dealing with them. So the book covers how to approach those things. This article also was stating how college students may not place a priority on mental health. So I think that just brings awareness to reaching out to college students and being aware of the developmental issues they're facing and how to focus on that and help them through their college career. The audience for this book, even pretty much the same as I stated before about the application, but higher education professionals interacting with students, this just makes them more informed on issues that they're dealing with and common themes that they'll see through their college years. This is also useful for counselors and psychologists, both on the campus and off the campus. as some developmental issues are still relevant outside of the college experience, and I'm sure psychologists outside of campus are counseling college students as well, so that'd be very useful to them. As for biblical appraisal, I thought the book just gave a lot of information that was straightforward and practical. I didn't really see a bias in some ways. There were issues discussed that may not be as common on a Christian campus, or if they would come up on a Christian campus, the approach surrounding that would probably be different because of Christian values. However, in counseling, counselors are supposed to be non-judgmental and encourage the clients to make their own decisions so that once they leave counseling, they aren't looking to the counselor to give them the answers, and they are equipped to make those decisions on their own. So, in Christian counseling, this is good because a client can come to their counselor knowing that they won't receive judgment. However, biblical values will probably be implied. For example, one of the things is talking about sexual health in how some college campuses are providing protection. This would not be common on a Christian campus, obviously, usually. So if a client would bring this to a session, this discussion, I'm assuming, would be a little bit different than it would be on a secular campus. However, the book, it was pretty straightforward with just facts rather than telling what a counselor they should do as to regarding faith. Thank you for listening to my book review. I look forward to any questions or comments you may have on the forum.